Hello everybody, welcome back to Memory Gamma. Right at the very beginning, I do want to say apologies for the slow publication. I said in the last few videos over the course of this month, the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm probably going to be a bit slower on my video creation just because temperatures here and I am currently starting a new job, so that's taking up a lot of time. But I will continue to be here and keep making content for you guys. So, following on from the last video, I had several requests to do content to continue on. Let me get my words right. So, we're going to continue doing what we were doing last time. We're going for the faction packs starting at the 2017 starter. And we have the next one, which is the Romulan. So, the Romulan, the Dominion and the 2017 starter pack were all bought out at roughly the same time as a bit of a restart, a sort of a version 2, a kickstart of a new update of the game. So there was a handful of cards in each set that were reprints of older cards to make the abilities either better worded if they were just reprints, or some of them had their abilities shifted entirely. So this is the Romulan 2017 pack. Now, if you do not own this pack, do not be alarmed. They are rarer than hen's teeth. This and the Dominion 2017 starter pack are two of the most expensive on the second-hand market. So if you do not own these, honestly, I would not knock yourself out going to look for them. There is good stuff in here. If you are desperate to have them in cards, then realistically, find the pictures and proxy them would be on an honest opinion. I could not recommend under any good conscience you to go out and spend £200 plus on one of these boxes. Even if I thought they were really worth that much, that's just a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a second-hand market for a product that's approaching 10 years old. So, we're going to go through the Romulans, as I did with the Federation Klingon starter pack. I'm going to put the ships up, put the captains up, and we're going to go through the upgrades one by one. Anything that is a direct replacement, I will point out. I might miss some of them. I do have a very good knowledge of the game and what's been replaced and what hasn't. However, my memory is not perfect. And if you do want to play this game and play the cards, come along to the Fremont Reformation. The link is in my on my page. We are about to run a Federation Romulan War event sometime in the next few weeks, so some of these cards might see some good play. So we're going to start with there is a load of ships, and then we're going to just go down from the top. So we have the PWB Tomal. Now, in case you're wondering why it's PWB, that means Praetor's Warbird, meaning this is the flagship of the Praetor of the Romulan Empire at the time. So this is the Tomal. It's a Dodera deck, so the stat line is the same as it was in the original starter pack, 3-2-6-4. Nice, big, thick, chunky ship, and quite defensive for a huge ship. Evade, target lock, sensor echo, and cloak for a Romulan ship. Maneuver dial is quite nice, 2 reverse is the only red. No combat belt, and only a 90 forward arc. Means it's a bit limited, but double tech, double weapon crew. I might want a second crew upgrade instead of the second weapon, but double tech for Romulan is amazing. Now, the ability of the ship. When attacking, if this ship is cloaked, you put an Orcs power token beside your ship, and you disable 2 of the shields on the defending ship. Now that's when attacking, so you go, right, I'm attacking you, at which point you can Orcs power token yourself, disable 2 of their shields, and then you open fire. So it just, it helps. It's temporary 2 damage. They'll get it back at the end in the end phase if they're still alive at that point. It just makes them 2 points easier to kill. So, good in my book. Also, 29 points. And of course, the original scaling would have had this as a 30-point ship. Combined stats all equal up to 15, and then you double them. So this is it's a 1-point discount. So as again, some of the ships got recosted downwards, some small, some by quite a bit. The next ship we have is the IRW Saran. Now this is a Valdor class introduced in Star Trek Nemesis against Shinzon. So the Valdor class comes in at 4 attack dice, so it's a native 4 for the Romulans. Nice. Still got 2 defense, 6 hull. It trades out a shield. So you lose a bit of shielding, gain a bit of weapon power. You've still only got the 90 forward arc, but this ship gains a come about and the Vodcha 6 green maneuvers. So this is very maneuverable. Double crew weapon tech, nice. And after you attack, you can perform a 2 bank left or right. Now, that's really nice. It allows you to get your hit in and then move away, hopefully before the enemy retaliates. So that works best if you've got high captain skills. Or if you've got multiple attacks, because after you attack, you may perform. Now, because the word may is in there, that is a once per turn trigger. But if you've got 2 attacks lined up, you could fire one, make the free move thanks to the ability, and then make your second shot against something that's now inside your new position's firing arc. So, potentials there. Again, double crew weapon tech, nice slots. Valdor with a tech slot is brilliant. Now, these are in point order, so the next 2 here are the generic Dideridex and generic Valdor. They are significantly cheaper than their main ships, 4 points cheaper in the case of the Dideridex, and same with the Valdor. They lose a shield, lose an ability, lose a slot. The Dideridex keeps double tech, that's amazing. The Valdor, however, loses the tech slot, which means I would honestly say the generic Valdor in this one is not a brilliant thing to be bringing. You really want tech slots on the Romulan stuff. It makes a big difference. The next 2 ships are a couple of tiny ships. A scout vessel and a science vessel. So this is Jarok's scout vessel. So this is Alador Jarok from Next Generation. His scout vessel that he uses to escape. So 1 attack dice. This is not a combat vessel, but 3 defense dice, 2 hull, 2 shield. 1 of each slot, normal action bar. Apart from it gets scan, not target lock. So this is a good shout for any Romulan, if anything you want, if you've got a mission that requires scanning. Good options. Now also maneuver dial, brilliant. 1 hard turns at white, 6 green maneuvers, not a red on the dial, and a come about at 2. Throw this thing around like it's a good one. Now, 2 hull. 2 hull means this ship is an auxiliary craft. Auxiliary craft work in basically in the same way as a fighter squadron would. So any ship that isn't a Tholian ship that has a hull value of 2 or less is an auxiliary craft. So that's shuttlecraft, delta flyers, fighter squadrons, scout science vessels, Borg scout cubes, all of those. You cannot put them on the battlefield unless you also have another ship which has a hull value of 4 or more printed. So you could put down the Dideridex or the Saran and then have one of these as a backup. Fine, because the hull value is more than 4. But your hull value 3 doesn't support a support ship. So, Jarok's scout vessel. Start of activation phase. You put 2 time tokens on this card and pick a friendly Romulan ship at range 1. And they get a free action. Now that's at the start of the activation phase. Before anyone's moved, you've set your dials, and it's going, right, activation phase. It gives you a free action on a ship before it moves, which could be very useful. It could allow you to cloak and then immediately use your action properly to sensor echo. It could be a target lock on a ship that you know is cloaking again this round. It could be any number of things, and it allows you to do it. Or you could simply give them an action, and they could have keyed in a red maneuver. You give them the free action, they do their action, and then they do a red maneuver, get an Orcs power token. They don't have to worry about losing their action, they've already performed it. So it's really very nice. It's only 2 time tokens, so you do this every other round. Science Vessel. Now, the Science Vessel is identical in terms of maneuver dial and action bar. It loses a defense dice because it's very much a support ship rather than this, which is a front line support ship. This is a second line support ship. Only also accrue tech, no weapon slots on the Science Vessel. However, as an action, you target a ship at range 1 to 2, a friendly ship, and you repair 1 hull or shield on that target ship. So every single round, it's just have a repair, have a repair, have a repair. Just feeding extra hull points and extra shields back into your ships. If you're a Romulan ship that's taken damage and you've lost your shields, it allows you to put your shield, give your shield back, and then you can cloak again. If you're starting to lose hull points and you're taking a lot of damage, gives you a point back. Amazing ability. And then the two generic ships. The scout vessel comes in at 9 points with only a weapon slot, and the science vessel comes in at 6 points with only a crew slot. So these are very, very much not going to make a big difference. However, scout vessel, single weapon slot, and scan, there are some relatively inexpensive high dice weaponry that doesn't require a target lock. This could be a quite effective Q ship. If you don't know the term Q ship, it's it's nomenclature for in the Golden Age of Sail, a merchant vessel that was actually heavily armed but disguised as not. So they had all their guns in the ship and all hidden away. They would sail along, and then a pirate or an opposing fleet would turn up and go, "Haha, we're going to attack you and nick your stuff." At which point the merchant goes, "Sake!" and opens up all its gun ports, and suddenly it's massively heavily armed. And it was usually enough to make the other fleet go, "Whoa," and back off. Not enough to win a prolonged fight, but it meant in that moment they had a lot more teeth. So using this with the single weapon slots can turn this ship into it's only a 1 dice, but it's got a 5 dice weapon sitting here, so it's still a very dangerous thing. So we're going to go to captains. There's a handful of captains. So the first one is Tomalak. Now, Tomalak appears in The Next Generation, and when he appears on screen, rather than a generic Romulan captain, you know that something's going down. That's an important mission when Tomalak is involved. Now, this is a Tomalak that is worthy of his title as one of the head captains of the Romulan Star Empire. 8 skill, 5 points with a talent slot. He also adds a tech upgrade slot to the upgrade bar. And when he attacks, you can re-roll an attack dice for every tech upgrade. So, oh look, I put him on the Tamal. 3 tech slots. That's 3 re-rolls. That's a free target lock if you fire a prime weapon. Or, realistically, unless you completely whiff the attack roll, 3 re-rolls on a 4 or 5 dice attack is going to be all you need. And that's going to be effectively a target lock re-roll. So, Tomalak is amazing. He came in straight away. He's also one of a very rare thing, a high-skilled Romulan captain. Most Romulan captains operate in the 5 to 7 category. There's only 2 which go above that. Tomalak and Shinzon. Our next one, Alador Jarok. So Jarok scout vessel. So, now he has got a really nice ability. Now you may notice a trend here. In the Federation Romulan pack, there was a 6 skill, 5 point captain in Duras. Alador Jarok is the same. Jarok is a bit better than Duras, however. Jarok's ability is at the start of the activation phase, his activation phase. After an opposing ship moves, but before they perform their action, you may 2-time token Jarok and target that ship. You choose an action on their action bar apart from regenerate, and that's the action they have to perform. So Federation ship comes screaming in and goes, "Right, I've done my movement." Jarok goes, "Up, you're scanning." "But I don't want to scan, I want to battle." "Doesn't matter, you're scanning." You could make them target lock. Now it does have to be legal. So for example, if all of your ships are perma-cloaked, you can't say target lock because there isn't a valid target for them to target lock. But you could make them sensor echo when they don't want to, because there's nowhere to go, or it puts them out of firing arc. You could make a ship cloak if they didn't want to be cloaked because they've got lots of stuff that means they need to be not cloaked. They're more unlikely. But probably what you're doing is stopping the Federation ship from battle stationing. Or, because it locks them in, they must perform that action unless they've got a free action from somewhere. That shuts down combos. So if their action was going to be, say, Jonathan Archer, perform 2 crew actions as free actions, and those crew actions would have done more actions and then more actions, Jarok goes, no, you're evading. Or you're scanning. And that's it. And that locks out their action for the turn. Now, if they've got said free actions from Original Starter Picard, Enterprise E Riker, Captain Shinzon, they can still perform their free actions as well. It just means that this turn they have to perform the action that you gave them. So, amazing action control. and only 2 time tokens. So you can pair him with something like Esri or T if you're crossing factions, and you could do Jarok every turn if you really wanted. Mirok. Now, Mirok is another version of an old captain, same as Aldor Jarok actually. Mirok is, as an action, place a scan token beside your ship, and if it's a Romulan ship you're on, have an action bar action as a free action. Now that's really nice. That is an amazing ability. For a 3 skill captain, he gives fundamentally a scan and action bar on a Romulan ship. Now, obviously, the smaller ships have already got scan, but, oh look, Saran. I'll go action scan and then sensor echo, or action scan and evade. He's just an amazing, for 2 points, 3 skill. No talent slot, but nah, we can work without that. That's a really, really good action economy, especially for a ship that doesn't require an action to do its ability. So, for example, he works quite well on Jarok Scout Vessel, because he gives out a free action to a friendly ship, and then he does his own free action. So this is just action economy all the way. And now we have a rarity, a generic captain that isn't a 1 skill no pointer. This is a Romulan captain. The picture is actually Dina Meyer as Commander Donatra from Nemesis, but this is a generic Romulan captain. 3 skill, 2 points. Now, not a lot of factions have generic captains. The Federation do not have generic captains. All of them are named heroes from an episode or 2. Same with the Klingons. Romulans have one, the Dominion have them. Some of the independent factions have them, Tholians and Herosian. But for the most part, a generic captain that has a captain skill higher than 1 is not quite unique, but very rare. And her ability is very nice. When you're defending, if you're cloaked, flip your cloak token face down, and then the enemy loses 2 dice. So that's right, I'm going to start decloaking. They lose 2 attack dice. At that point, you might as well fire because you're already decloaking. Or there are ways that you say in the end phase, flip your cloak token back over to its green side. So that is really nice. It's a good ability. For a 3 skill 2 point captain that you could put on multiple ships, brilliant. Just gives you a bit more survivability. There is no admirals in this pack, or ambassadors or construction upgrades. They had not been introduced at this point. Elite talents. There was only 2, because again, in this pack, basically what you got was enough cards to fill all the slots on the ships you got given. So there's 4 ships, 4 captains, 2 elite talents. Only 2 of them have talent slots, and the same weapons and tech and crew. So this is a smaller pack, and the rest of them will be about the same until we get to the later Federation ones. So we have Strike from the Shadows. When attacking, if this ship is cloaked, discard this card and flip this cloak token over to its green side. So that basically, it's a one-time thing for when you attack, you flip your cloak token over, and you can discard that, flip it back again. So basically, it's a one-time 3-point remain cloaked while firing. There are other ways of doing it, but this one has no downside. The other ones usually involve placing an Orc's power token beside your ship or something like that. So this is a slot that isn't being used for, tech and things for killing people, and it gives you a nice ability. The downside is it's a discard and at 3 points, but it is usable. Tal Shiar. Now, this is actually a reprint of an older card, which was a 5-point card. Now it's a 2-point card. Both are valid. This one didn't replace the original one. Both are valid. So this one is planning phase. After all ships have chosen their maneuvers, discard the Tal Shiar and target an opposing ship at range 1 to 3. Look at their dial and give yourself a battle stations token. So, again, it's a one-time discard, but it allows you to look at their maneuver and it gives you a battle stations token. Now, you can't change their maneuver. You can't change your maneuver unless you've got a separate ability that enables you to change your maneuver when you reveal it. But it enables you to know. So combine that with Jarok and you could pick a ship. That ship, you know where it's going, and then you make it do what you want to do with Jarok. So that is a ship that you have complete knowledge of what it's doing and where it's going. So that's an awful lot of control. Now, of course, you can only do the Tal Shiar once, but it's certainly an ability that's worth considering and keeping around. And for 2 points, if you've got a talent slot free, you get a battle stations token. At the very worst, it's a planning phase battle stations token. Take it. That's a really nice ability. There's a Dominion elite talent upgrade called Invaluable Advice, which is discard for a battle stations token at the start of the combat phase. Tal Shiar works in the planning phase for the same price point. The only thing is, it's locked to a Romulan captain, because obviously you have to be a member, you have to be a Romulan to be part of the Tal Shiar. So moving on, crew upgrades. We've got a handful. So a Romulan medical team. Action discard, target a ship at range 1 to 2, and you remove 1 disable token from all crew upgrades. So effectively, it's you use your action and you re-enable the entire friendly ship's crew upgrades. So now that is really nice. That is a very, very nice ability, which can be put to very good use. However, obviously Romulan ships do not often get an awful lot of crew upgrades. So, I mean, most of them will get 2 at a max, maybe 3 if you're using, I believe, there is a Romulan Deredex which gets 3, the Harkona, which on this one on a friendly ship would be quite nice because it enables you to re-enable everything on board the Harkona. But then again, you also have to disable them. And there's a lot of Romulan cards do one of 2 things, either passive or discard. There's not actually an awful lot of disable for the Romulans. The Romulans are very much one and done. A lot of their best things are discard to do things, or their passive abilities that work all the time. So it's definitely got a place, but it would require a particular fleet build for it to work. Our next thing is one of the passive abilities. Tal Shiar Subcommander. Now, this is actually one of my favourite Romulan crew upgrades. When attacking, if you have an evade token, you convert one of their evades into a blank. So by you taking an evasive action, it makes them less evasive. That's really nice. You go with him, put him on Mirok ship, for example. You've got action scan evade, and then you open fire with your weapon card. The enemy rolls a defense dice, and then you go, right, and now I'll convert one of your rolled evades into a blank. They can convert it up again or re-roll it if they've got the ability, but it just gives you a nice little bit of quality control against them. And only 2 points. No problem. It's a really nice card. You may also notice these are all really, really cheap. It started off at 3, and apart from the last 2, these 3 are non-unique. The next one, Romulan Spy. At the start of the game, target all friendly Romulan ships. Now remember, friendly does not include yourself. At range 1, put a cloak token beside them. So, at the start of the game, everyone's deployed. Before you do first turn, you go, everything apart from my ship at range 1 is cloaked. Suddenly, you've started the game cloaked, apart from the ship that this is on, which you could then just cloak on your first turn anyway. But it allows the rest of your ships to save a turn's actions, or even you could do it on Romulan ships that don't have cloak on the action bar. You put this on, say, its Deredex, and then you surround it with Romulan drone ships, or NX era birds of prey that don't get cloak because they don't have shields. This is place a cloak token beside their ship. On the base, sorry. It doesn't say they perform the action. It doesn't mean it means they don't have to have shields. Those ships can start the game cloaked even if they could not normally cloak, as long as they're a friendly Romulan ship. Once they've fired, they will decloak unless they've got some way of maintaining it, and that's it. But for 2 points to cloak your whole fleet at the start of the game, yes. The final 2 crew upgrades are staples of the Romulan fleet. Bokra and Parem. Again, no pack. Almost, I think this is their 3rd edition, and they almost always come together. Bokra. This is the Romulan crew member that Geordie gets stranded with, and basically Bokra can't walk and Geordie can't see, and they have to work together to escape. Bokra has an ability. At the start of the activation phase, discard this card. You activate last this game round. So it means that you get set to the very last ship that moves an axe. irrespective of captain skill. It takes your ship out of the captain skill order, and after everyone else has done theirs, you do yours last. So it gives you, it's not quite like calculating, which sets you to skill rank 10. This is you activate last this game round. So you will move last and act last. Combat phase will still go captain skill, but it gives you an opportunity to hold fire on your move and action until everyone else has done theirs. And Parim. Now, Parim is not technically a Romulan, given that he's actually an alien in Romulan form. But this guy, oh no, pardon me, no, this is the other one. Parim is the one who is interface generator against Romulan and Jolan Tru, pardon me. So Parim is, as a discard at the start of the planning phase, pick a friendly ship. You may notice there's no range on him, just pick a friendly ship. And tech upgrades equipped to the target ship cannot be affected by opposing effects this game round. There's not an awful lot that targets tech, but Kieran Reese steals tech or discards tech. Anything which steals or discards tech, so Borg assimilation tubules, Ferengi things, some mirror bits and pieces. It gives you a bit of protection. It's a one-time thing. It's a 1-point card, however. It's a 1-point crew. If you've got the slot, you can put him in there, and you could use him as fodder for discard for something else. So, not a bad thing. Ability's not bad, not amazing, but tech upgrades. Again, we only have 4. Interface generator. Now, I could do almost an entire video on the interface generator alone. This is actually a reprint of the original card, errated to be 1 per ship. And basically what it is it's the absolute catch-all Romulan defense card. When defending, after everything's been rolled, if you're cloaked, you may discard the interface generator, cancel the attack, and you suffer 1 damage. That's it. Bang. So the enemy's gone, I've rolled my 8 dice, so I've got 5 damage, 5 hits and 2 crits. They're going through. You managed to blank out and rolled nothing. Right. Interface. Cancel everything you've just rolled. I suffer 1 damage. Which will be a hull point because you're cloaked, unless you're a Romulan Warbird, because you can have your shields up while cloaked. But it's a one-time attack cancellation that you don't have to trigger until after everyone's rolled their dice. So it does mean roll dice. It gets to basically after everyone's rolled their dice and modified them. So it's you doing the compare results step. It's before you do deal damage. You go, right, do I want to take this attack or not? If you don't, throw interface out and suffer 1 damage and cancel the attack. So it's amazing. It's a staple of the Romulan fleet. And very, very quickly to move back to plug our event coming up, we have actually put for this event a limit on 2 per fleet for the interface generator. It's such a powerful card. If you let them have free reign, every single ship will have an interface, and that's not a bad thing. It's an amazing card. We've got a tech slot. It's a good place to have good thing to put on the ship to stop people from just one-shotting you. But it does also make the Romulan ships amazingly hard to kill, because obviously if you fire really, really, really powerful shot, they'll just get interfaced. If you then go, okay, I'm not going to fire super, I'm just going to fire normal, they've got 5, 6, 7 defense dice. So little shots will get absorbed by the defense dice. Massive shot will get cancelled by the interface. So it becomes that balancing act of how powerful can your shot be before the Romulan goes, okay, we'll shut that one down. Next one, the auxiliary power core. So this is a 3-point tech. If it's not on a Romulan ship, it costs 2 points more. So that's 5 plus the faction penalty, so 6 points on a non-Romulan ship. And it must go on a ship of hull 4 or more. Whenever you would put an Aux power token beside your ship, put it on the Aux power core instead. And when there's 2 tokens on it, discard it. So it saves you from the first couple of Aux power tokens you suffer. So the first couple of red maneuvers, the first couple of enemy effects that hand them out, it absorbs them and then discards itself, taking the tokens with it. It's nice. It does have a use, especially like it on a Valdor, because then you can do your red maneuver, do your come about maneuver, and then still be able to act for a couple of turns. Quantum stasis module. This is a weird one. This is from the actual picture, shows Garrick, because this is actually from when Garrick and Inara Brentane ally with the Tal Shiar to try and wipe out the Founder's homeworld. This is what he uses to torture Odo. So, activation phase. You discard the card, target a captain or a crew equipped to an opposing ship. And that card you chose cannot perform actions this game round. Now, it's a discard. It's a fleet unique. It's one time. But with the massive preponderance, especially of Federation, crew and captain actions, it can be useful. You know, as I said earlier, Jonathan Archer, action, do 2 crew actions as free actions, and then they can each lead on with more. If you go QSM, Archer, no. That's that combo dead for a turn. He can't perform action that game round. That just shuts him down. So, amazing quality. It's one time, it's fleet unique, so you do only have one shot at it, and you have to make sure it's worth it. But it's definitely worth considering bringing. And the final one, Reinforced Shields. It's a 1-point tech upgrade that has to have a hull value of 5 or more. So that you're looking at Deridexes and Valdors and Scimitar and that sort of thing. For the Romulans, at least. When this ship suffers 3 or more damage from a single attack, repair 1 shield. Every time. Now, this isn't for every 3 damage you suffer, repair a shield, and it doesn't happen as soon as you've had that 3rd damage point. The deal damage step cannot be interrupted. So if you go, right, I'm not cloaked, on the Tomalte it's not cloaked for some reason, and I suffer 5 damage, which would be 4 shields and a hull point. So I suffered the 5 damage, I go 1, 2, 3, 4 shields gone, and then 1 point to my hull. Then Reinforced Shields triggers and repairs 1 of those shields. So now I'm at 5 hull, 1 shield. It doesn't trigger, as I said, from every 3 damage. So it doesn't go, oh, 3 shields gone, gain 1 back. And you have to let all the damage go through before you do that. So, of course, you know, if the attack kills you, you don't get to use this. So it's only a single point. It's not going to do an amazing job. However, it does mean that for some ships, if you're going to run your Deridexes decloaked for some reason, or even the Scimitar or Reman Warbirds, which can run while cloaked and have shields up, it can be a nice situational mini repair. You know, the Scimitar can run with 7 shields as its maximum if you cap it out rule of 3, and only 1 of them has to be disabled to be cloaked with one of the cards I'll come to in a later faction pack. At 6 shields up, while cloaked. You take 3 damage. You take 3 shield damage. Oh look, you've got 1 back. So it's a nice ability. And finally, weaponry. Only 3 cards. So disruptor beams. These ones replace the original ones. The original ones were the same card, but they were a disable. These are actually a replacement. 3 time tokens. 5 attack dice and target opposing ship. No target lock, nothing required. So, hello, Mr. Mirok. For each hit crit that they suffer, roll an attack dice. If you roll at least 1 hit crit, they suffer additional damage. So the deal damage step. So say this ship opens fire, rolls 5 dice, and does 3 damage in total after their defense. They take 3 damage. When they've rolled that 3 damage, you roll 3 more dice, 1 for each damage they took. If you score at least 1 additional hit or crit on those 3 dice, they suffer 1 more point of normal damage. You don't add what you rolled. It basically means the more you do, the more likely you are to do 1 more point. So it's definitely worth it. It is 5 points and 3 time tokens. But Jarok Scout Vessels, if it's a 21-point ship and you can go scan, evade, they lose a defense dice, and you down convert 1 of their evades. It's a really nice shot. The next card, Additional Weapons Array. Now this is a Deridex only, and was brought in specifically to deal with the fact that Deridexes were terrible in shooting. Whenever you attack, roll an extra dice. Simple. 3 points for extra dice anytime you fire. Now, not just primary. So that means, it does mean 4 dice primary. It does mean that disruptive beams become 6 dice. If you've got a weapon that starts off at, say, 10 dice, photonic cannon, for example, 11. That's a bit of a silly thing to use it for because that's 11 points on here as well. But that's just any attack you make plus 1 dice. So if you have multiple attacks, torpedo fusillade, well, congratulations, every single one of them gets a bonus dice. So it's a brilliant card to have for the Doderidex. And a modern Doderidex can actually run, usually, reliably, 6 dice nowadays. And the final one, forward disruptor banks. If you have performed a 2-bank or 3-bank maneuver this game round, you roll a +1 dice this game round. Now, that's not every attack, and that's not for every one you do. So, for example, you don't get to perform, you can't go perform a bank and then have a free move of another bank and get 2 of this trigger. So, it does only trigger once, and you only get 1 attack dice. But if you're only making 1 move and 1 attack, basically, the Valdor class does a 2 or 3 bank, gets an extra attack dice this round. Starts at 4, that makes it 5. Tau Shiar, the disruptor beams, could make it 6. So, it's a good card. It doesn't see an awful lot because obviously it requires you doing banks, but of course you could do your bank and then do a free move of something else to get you into your actual position. So, and also if you pair it with the actual named ship, the IRW Valdor, which whenever it does a green maneuver, it gets an extra attack dice. The 2 banks are greens. So you could do a 2-bank maneuver, and that 2-bank maneuver will give you 1 dice for doing a green and 1 dice for doing 4 disruptor banks. Now the Valdor's firing 6 dice. That's nice. So, that is the entirety of the 2017 Romulan faction pack. As I did last time, S tier cards. So, absolute top tier cards. Tomalak is an amazing card. He is an amazing captain, does absolute brilliant wonders. Tamal, good ship, solid A class. Alador Jarok, I would also say, is another one of my top picks for brilliant cards. Romulan Spy, Tau Shiar Sub-Commander, and Mirok. Solid cards, as in would definitely use, but we'll look at after I've put in my other ones. Weapons Array, Interface Generator, Disruptor Banks, Tau Shiar, the generic captain. And then more generic card, more situational cards, Parim, Bokra, Disruptor Beams, simply because they're 5 points and 3-time tokens. But they are range 1 to 3, so they does work at all ranges. It's just the expensive, but then, that's about what you expect. Orcs Power Core, Reinforced Shield, Quantum Stasis Module, they all have a place, but it's more situational. So, that is sort of my ranking. So, yeah, I would definitely say the Tamal, Tomalak, Jarok, Mirok, and Tau Shiar are my top picks from this pack. Maybe Romulan Spy if you're running pure Romulan. So, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for listening to me babble on about this. As always, if you like the video, please like the video. If you haven't already subscribed and you want to, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. You can always unsubscribe later. I'm getting subscribers in very slowly. Again, I'm not trying to monetize this account. If I ever do get to 500 subscribers, which is the monetization thing, I think I might have a heart attack because that would be absolutely ridiculous amounts of people that want to watch me talk about a game. And obviously, if you want to comment, if you've got something to say, put it in the comments. I read all the comments. If I don't, I will try and respond to all the ones that need responding to. If it's just a thank you very much for doing the video or a comment, that's fine. If it's a question or something that you want an opinion on, I will always try and answer it. If you've got any suggestions for other things you'd like to see, particular ship builds, a particular card, a deep dive into why I think one particular card is better than another one, again, pop them in the comments. I'm always looking for new videos, ideas. I'm going to, for the next while, there's going to be basically individual card reviews of important cards, things like Interphase, and someone has mentioned in a previous video Darla, so I'm going to do a video on her. But it's going to be mostly these faction packs for the next few weeks, because they take a long time to do, because this is a 40-minute video already at the moment I'm talking now, and I'm probably going to witter on for another minute or two. And the later ones just get more and more complicated because there's more and more extra rules. So I will end it here. Thank you very much for joining me, as always, and I will see you in the next one.